Shabbat Shalom, Temple Sinai. This Shabbat, we encounter a really fascinating set of verses in the Torah portion. Our Torah reading is Shalach Lecha, and it's the story of the scouts who were sent out to go explore the land. And the question of fear becomes the paramount issue in the whole story. The question is, the Israelites go out and look, and 12 of them go out, 12 come back, 10 come back saying they're afraid, that the people who live there are giants, that there's all these problems. 2 of them say, no, we can do this. And what begins to be established is this sense of how do we deal with the other? They talk about the others who are already living there. And so the question then is, do we fear them, or do we say, no, we can work with them? And do we look at them and say, no, we're going to have to take them out? Or do we look and say, no, we can figure out a way to work together and to coexist? The level of fear that begins with Shalach Lecha, that begins with the spies and the scouts, still continues today. We look around at Israel and there is so much fear all over the place. Too many Israelis fear the Palestinians because of extremist terrorists who are leaders of particular sects. But the vast majority of mainstream Palestinians aren't to be feared. Too many Palestinians fear Israelis and fear a Jewish state. But there's no concept of a Jewish state, or a very minor amount of extremists within Jews who don't want to live side by side their Palestinian neighbors. The reality is that overwhelmingly, the majority of both peoples can live together. They can live side by side. But because of fear, we haven't gotten there yet. And so on this Shabbat, as we're still in the midst of a long war, we recognize that we have to own our fear. And the Torah portion calls us to wrestle with that fear and to say to ourselves, why are we allowing fear to drive us? And what can we do better by looking out and saying, they can live in their place and we can live in our place, and we can live side by side somehow, some way. The extremists want us to give in to fear. They count on fear controlling things. If we want to win, we've got to overcome that fear. And so that's what I'm preaching, and that's what I'm talking, and that's what I'm teaching, because I think that's part of how we get through these terrible days of war, and it's how we build a better, stronger Israel and a better, stronger Middle East for all people involved. I hope you'll join us this Shabbat. We're going to deal with a different kind of fear and overcoming that fear as we celebrate Pride Shabbat. And we are going to celebrate all that we are as an inclusive community and congregation. Services will be at 7 o'clock. Saturday morning, of course, Torah study at 8:30 and services at 9:15 with the Minyan. Next week is a usual week, except for Thursday is the 4th of July, and so our offices will be closed. And next Friday is a mostly musical Shabbat. So I hope you'll join us for Pride services this Friday night as we overcome our own fears, as we deal with questions of inclusion in our own community, and as we go forward through Shabbat and into the next week, and as we continue to wrestle with all of the challenges going on in Israel. I hope you'll join me in calling out the fear that exists and working to overcome it. Together, we really can change the way the world sees things, and it starts with each one of us recognizing that this fear is long-rooted, but that it is possible to overcome it all. Shabbat Shalom for now. Look forward to seeing you at the temple.